I'm sure you've seen the vision of a pregnant woman being arrested in Ballarat at her home for posting something on Facebook.
I haven't seen the vision, but I have heard about the issue.
You haven't seen the vision?
No, I haven't seen the vision.
It's going viral. She was arrested in her home. She was pregnant.
Yep,
She's a
I'm
mum.
aware of that. Yep.
She allegedly wasn't allowed to have a lawyer present. She didn't know what incitement was. She posted something on Facebook. Allegedly, she was planning a peaceful protest. Do you think it was a fair arrest?
Well, what I'd say to you is I've not seen the vision. I don't know what. I'm not sure any of us know what she was attempting to incite allegedly. What I can say though is Victoria Police will be out, I think a bit around noon, if not a bit earlier, and they'll be able to speak to all of those matters.
Is there any policy on approaching potential protesters in this way?
Not that the government is involved in. That's very much a operational matter that Victoria Police, they may have made some decisions on the ground, as it were, but that's not something I can speak to. But they are going to be out, and you'll be able to put those questions to them.
Do you think it's heavy-handed? Should the organisers of the Black Lives Matter protest have been charged with incitement, given that they were also planning a protest at a time when we were under restrictions and 10,000 people attended?
I would need to refer you to Victoria Police in relation to what occurred with those people. I'm not sure whether state of disaster versus state of emergency may have been a relevant factor there. I don't know the answer.
You supported their decision at the time not to do anything more than charge the three organisers, or to issue 3 organisers with fines for breaching COVID restrictions, and not to penalise anyone else who attended, though.
Well, I'm very clearly on the record as saying that those are matters that Victoria Police should have absolute control over.
I guess you supported their decision on that occasion.
Let me finish. Let me finish the answer to the question, then I'll answer the next one. It is not my practice to be directing police on how to enforce the law. That really is a matter that I think they need to have that absolute sense of control, with the full benefit of any context that may or may not be there with any given case. In terms of your second question, I think that Victoria Police will be out very soon, and they'll be able to speak to these matters. And again, that's probably the best way to go, rather than me offering opinions. I'm not fully briefed on the circumstances involved and the people who are, and the people who can potentially answer those questions. I'm not for a moment diminishing that it is of very significant interest, not questioning that, but the details, they are known to Victoria Police, and they'll be able to potentially speak to some of that.
Obviously, the Black Lives Matter issue was something for which there's a lot of community support. People going out and protesting against COVID restrictions is something for which there's not very much community support, I think it's fair to say. But should you know, I guess we live in a free society. Should what the issue is about play any role in what penalty people receive for organising a protest?
No.
Yeah.
The worthiness of the cause or otherwise, which would ultimately be something that each individual would have to make their own judgments on anyway, because something that you and I, Rachel, might take to the streets to protest about might not necessarily be something that someone else would think was worthy of us taking to the streets. The key point here is now's not the time to protest about anything, because to do so is not safe.
The British Medical Journal says the risk of COVID transmission is low if everyone is masked. It's outdoors, and then everyone keeps 1.5 metres apart. Yep. So if that's the case, why can't they protest?
Sorry?
If that's the case, why can't they protest?
Well, the British Medical Journal article you refer to, which I've not had the time to read, is a matter for the person who authored it. The rules in Victoria are that it is not the time to protest, and that's been my consistent view, regardless of what you're protesting about. And I'm not making a comment about the worth or otherwise of whatever someone's protesting about. That isn't the issue here. When you're trying to drive these numbers down to the lowest possible level, then if you just took that example one step further, or the point you make one step further, well, what if 1.5 metres isn't maintained? What if one person isn't wearing a mask? What if someone's not wearing their mask properly? All of these things, they're unacceptable risks. You don't need to protest, but we do need to get these numbers down so that we can...
You don't trust people who would be protesting?
Well, if Sky News is advocating that I should change my position and protest should be allowed, well, it's an interesting day then, isn't it? Because my position will not be changing. with the greatest of respect, I'm not. I don't quite understand the point of the question. There are rules. We're not going to change those rules. Protests are not smart. They're not safe, and they're not lawful. And that's where it's at. Others in London may have a different view, but that's entirely a matter for them. And I just make the point again. It's not about what you're protesting for or against. It's not about whether you might, in a theoretical model, as you've put to me, devise something that was safe. You don't need to be doing that. And if you do, there's an unacceptable risk that you'll compromise the strategy, which is to drive these numbers down as low as we can get them. And it will, as Alan indicated, it'll get to the point where, ones and twos and threes, really small numbers will be critically important if they're not contained. Because, as we know, even one person can infect many, many hundreds.
113
Those rules
cases.
should be applied evenly regardless of what people are protesting about. Why do we have a situation where 10,000 people were allowed to attend a protest without being penalised, and a woman's been charged with incitement over allegedly posting something on Facebook?
As I said before, I'll let Victoria Police speak to the circumstances of the incident. I'm not diminishing the importance and the significant interest in that matter, but it is a matter for Victoria Police. In terms of historic matters, so things that have happened many months ago, Victoria Police made a judgment, and that is entirely the very difficult job that they have to do. We can't change that, but we can certainly try and change the behaviour that anybody might exhibit over the weeks and months to come that might put everything that we are, all of us as Victorians, working to achieve, and that is the lowest possible case numbers, a safe and steady easing of restrictions, and then a COVID normal that we can lock in for months and months and months, hopefully, all the way through 21 until we get the vaccine.